Let's talk about a phenomenon that nearly every gamer has experienced: loving a bad video game. Not just liking it a little, but truly, deeply loving it, even when you know, deep down, that it's objectively flawed. Why does nostalgia make us feel this way? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a trip down memory lane, analyze the quirks of our childhood, and figure out why those pixelated disasters still hold a special place in our hearts. Nostalgia, in its simplest form, is a wistful or excessively sentimental yearning for the past. It's that warm fuzzy feeling we get when we remember a simpler time in our lives, whether it's a certain song, a smell, or yes, a video game. But it's not just about remembering. Nostalgia creates a bridge between who we were and who we are now, reconnecting us to those carefree, joyful moments. It's a powerful emotion, and video games are a perfect vessel for it. Back in the day, our gaming choices were limited. Unlike today, where virtually any game can be bought on the comfort of our couch and downloaded instantly, the games we play as kids were often what our parents bought for us. Sometimes that meant incredible, groundbreaking titles, but other times, well, let's just say some of us were stuck with The Lion King for the Sega Genesis, a game as infamous for its brutal difficulty as it is for the nostalgia it evokes. Yet, those games weren't just cartridges or discs, they were portals to our imagination. We didn't have forums or YouTube reviews telling us what was good or bad. We could have one of those gaming magazines if we were lucky. And even those might not exist yet, depending on how old you are. We made the best of what we had, even if it meant loving a game that, in hindsight, was clunky, frustrating or poorly designed. Take a moment to think about the games you grew up with. Maybe you had a classic like Pokémon Gold and Silver or Super Mario 64, objectively great games by most standards. But maybe you also had Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the PlayStation 1, a game that, let's face it, wasn't exactly polished. The controls were stiff, the graphics were laughable, and yet you loved every second of it. And I'm not talking about Hagrid, because his texture is a masterpiece. But why? Because it wasn't just about the gameplay. It was about the memories tied to it, the afternoons spent with friends, the sense of wonder as you explored Hogwarts for the first time, the feeling of accomplishment when you finally beat a tough level. Nostalgia blurs the lines between good and bad, making even flawed games feel like masterpieces. This emotional attachment is why we often revisit old games, knowing full well that they might not hold up. Games like Tomb Raider: Angel of Darkness or E.T. the Extraterrestrial, widely regarded as one of the worst games ever made, still draw people in. It's not because these games suddenly got better with age. It's because playing them transports us back to a time when gaming was pure, uncritical joy. Angel of Darkness is actually getting a remastered treatment in the beginning of 2025, although I'm not hopeful. The original trilogy remaster that was released does barely anything to improve on the problems of the classic ones, but maybe that's just me. If you're enjoying this nostalgic trip so far, don't forget to like this video. It helps more people discover these fun discussions about games we grew up loving, and I will really appreciate it. And while you're at it, you can subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And since I'm not looking at the Tomb Raider remaster, let's look at the other side of the coin. Nostalgia isn't just a personal experience, it's a business. Publishers and developers have long recognized its power, which is why we're living in an era of remakes and remasters, at least one of the reasons why. Look at the success of games like the remake of Dead Space, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. These aren't just cash grabs, they're designed to capitalize on our longing for the past. And it works, it sure works, because Rebirth is my favorite game of 2024. When we see those updated versions of our childhood favorites, we are not just buying the game, we're buying the chance to relive those cherished memories, and that's priceless for a lot of people. The majority really. But let's get real for a moment. Not every game that evokes nostalgia is good. For every The Sims or Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, there's a Heart of Darkness or Lion King. And don't even get me started on the endless stream of poorly made movie tie-in games. Those were like the plague. Every television or cinema IP had to have a game based on it. And 9 out of 10 were just bad. But despite their flaws, these games often became cult classics, loved more for what they represent than for their actual quality. The truth is, we don't like bad games. We like the feeling they give us. Nostalgia isn't about the game itself. It's about how it made us feel at a specific time in our lives. It's why you can look at a clunky game from your childhood and still feel the urge to play it, even if you know it will drive you nuts today. It's not the gameplay or the graphics that matter. It's the memories, the late nights, the laughs, the triumphs. And yet, this creates a unique kind of paradox. Try explaining your love for a bad game to someone who didn't grow up with it. It's almost impossible. You might find yourself admitting that yes, the controls are awkward, the story makes no sense, and the graphics are an eyesore. But even as you acknowledge these flaws, you can't help but smile. That's the magic of nostalgia. It's not rational, and it doesn't have to be. Do you have a game where you feel like this? Leave it in the comments and let's have a nice talk about all the games we love, but very few people do. Today, with so much choice and ease of access, it's unlikely that these flawed gems will capture our attention in the same way. Why would you slog through Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness when you could play Tomb Raider Legends or even the reboot trilogy? Why would you revisit that bad game when there are thousands of better options at your fingertips? The answer, of course, is nostalgia. It's the pull of the past, the desire to recapture a moment in time, even if just for a little while. In the end, it's perfectly fine to like bad games. Not everyone's taste is the same, and there's no shaming in enjoying something that others might dismiss. Nostalgia reminds us that games aren't just about technical perfection or critical acclaim. They're about connection. Connection to our past, to our memories, and to the joy of being a kid with a controller in hand. So, whether you're revisiting The Sims or booting up The Lion King for old time's sake, embrace it. Nostalgia may be a rose-tinted lens, but sometimes it's exactly what we need.